All right, guys, so welcome back to another podcast. It's been a minute. It's been a bit of a minute, guys. Last time we did one of these, I think we were in Brazil. I'm here today with my buddy Ahmed. Ahmed, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, bro.
As you guys know, my podcasts are always about, going against the grain. I love speaking to people that are doing something kind of different in life, and Ahmed's doing that. We're both doing something kind of similar, which is, obviously in the sales space, closing space, but just introduce yourself real quick, kind of give a little synopsis about yourself. What do you want to say?
I appreciate you having me on. My name is Ahmed Moustafa. I'm a 23-year-old entrepreneur. I run a coaching offer right now, info product business. And right now we're in the means of actually exiting the business right now. I'm getting more into scaling up other info products. And so that's what I'm doing on the business side of things. But you obviously met through a couple of mutual friends earlier this year in Cape Town. And now you're back.
And it's back in town. We're back in Cape Town. We got some beautiful cars here behind us. And we just chopping it up. Bro, how long you been making money online?
So I had a weird journey. It wasn't just the complete straight, you get in the online money space, you get your first and then you continue on.
Yeah.
It was basically I got into the social media marketing space, right? Did that through a mutual friend that we both know who's my current business partner. And I did that for a bit, but we were doing it completely wrong. And I think a lot of people in the agency space did the same thing, which is just drop servicing. Issue with that is you have usually very, very poor retention, because when you're drop servicing, you don't have people that actually know what the fuck they're doing. And so you end up having a lot of churn in the business. And then if something like COVID happens, which did happen, dropped all of our income. So we lost majority of the income that we were making at the time.
Yeah.
And so through that door closed, which opened up a new door. I think that was around the time that I had that understanding as well, that whenever something closes, whenever an opportunity, a relationship, a person, whatever it may be, closes, it's literally just the world opening it up.
It's an opportunity, man.
Just an opportunity.
We were talking about this earlier too. Similar situation with myself is sometimes the entrepreneurship path is not a linear, constant path. That's what people think. They get into it, there's going to be all, roses and happiness, for the rest of their life. But no, man, it's ups and downs. And we both had situations where we actually had to go back to trading our time for money. Because ideally, that's what you want to get away from, right?
100%.
You were in a boiler room, you said, cold calling.
Yeah.
Business.
Yeah. So
interesting.
When the agency dropped, we had to make money somehow.
Yeah.
And so we ended up working with this company who basically sells just internet plans and phone plans or whatever it is for businesses.
Yeah.
So it was me, my then business partner, and then the business partner that we ended up bringing in. So there's three of us in the current business, but that's where I met him, in this boiler room where we just dial people 8 hours a day trying to sell them on fucking internet plans, which honestly, looking back on it, I'm surprised it didn't hit. It did hit my ego in the sense of I went from doing online money, making way more money, doing whatever I want, work from home, to in this boiler room, making basically no money at all because we ended up getting scammed. The person that we're working for never paid us. But I just saw it as, again, a transitionary period. So I knew it wasn't forever. I knew I was just going to have to figure something out. But as long as you're continuously building up your skill sets, that's the most important part. I feel like there's a lot of people out there that when they don't know what project to work on, they just don't work on anything. And then they just sit there and waste their time. It's what are you doing? You have to be working towards something. That thing might not be the only thing they end up doing, right? You're probably going to transition out of it, but you have to be working towards something. So we ended up doing that for a bit. And through that, I got scouted to basically do HVAC sales in Toronto. And so at the time, I didn't have a crazy amount of sales experience outside of obviously the cold calling, but that wasn't really a lot of sales. I was just getting told to fuck off all day. But there wasn't proper sales experience outside of just taking the nose.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting flown out and working for this HVAC sales company out in Toronto. And so I was supposed to be there for only 2 weeks. The guy called me. He's like, hey, actually, funny story. I met him through doing good work at this telecommunication company. And so I was putting it all, and he saw that I was really hustling my ass off. And so he took a liking to me and said, hey, I'm going to open up an HVAC company in Calgary, which was our city at the time.
Yeah.
But for now, we're just running in Toronto. And so I just developed this relationship with this guy, and he ends up calling me August of 2021. Or 2020. Yeah, 2020. No, 2020. I didn't 2020. He calls me up, and he's like, hey, do you want to come to Toronto for 2 weeks, learn how to do HVAC sales? So when we open up this in Calgary, you're good to go. I'm like, fuck yeah. He's like, when do you want to come? He's like, I'm like, yesterday.
And
he books me on a flight. Books me a flight for a couple hours later. I end up being in Toronto for 3 months.
You said in those 2-3 months you became the top salesman too. Yeah, a short little bit of time.
Yeah, right underneath the co-founder who was also the sales manager.
Yeah,
I became the guy right under him. I ended up taking on the entire sales to rad up at that. Yeah.
And then when did you get into the high ticket sales? And most of my people didn't know about high ticket sales, they know about high ticket closing. And I always speak about the difference because a lot of them know doing sales, they think, okay, closing, high ticket closing, it's the same thing.
So
the difference between, we were speaking about this earlier, door to door. We were speaking about, you obviously the cold calling in the boiler room type of situation, SDRs, you got just in a floor with a bunch of other, Joes just doing the same thing every day. Like that's a grind, man. That's tough. As opposed to what we do, where we're selling info products, we're selling coaching, or consulting packages, and talk about this whole online world for people that maybe don't understand.
100%. So it's completely different. Like you can't compare the two.
Yeah.
One is a repetition game, right? So when you're doing door knocking, you're doing cold calling, that's all just repetition. The main skill set that you're developing is that you're taking a lot of no's and continue to
learning persistence, learning confidence.
Great skill set.
Yeah.
Great skill set.
Yeah.
But in my head, that's not really sales, right? Because there's no transformation that's going through the person that you're speaking to's mind. You're basically just calling enough people where at some point you hit enough volume where someone's like,
you get laid out.
Then you get laid out.
Yeah.
Someone's like, yeah, I want your product. So it just solves the problem that I have. But there's no actual selling, in my opinion, for most of those types of jobs, right? Versus when you get into high ticket sales, right, which I'm sure your audience already knows, but you learn psychology.
Top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. You learn, problem awareness, and then problem solution, and then what else? There's the whole flow.
I think the biggest thing that you learn is changing someone's belief systems, right? Because there's a lot of skepticism when someone comes onto a call, which makes sense because they know that they're going to get sold, and they people want to take their time, they want to come to Fuji on their own, but it's our duty as someone who's selling them, or your product is actually a net positive to the person, that you have to change their belief system on the call to be able to actually take action towards buying the program, which is obviously going to change their life.
Yeah.
But that's completely different because this is more of a sniping role versus the other one just spray and pray, right? And so this is a skill set that you can take into literally every other aspect of your life. The way I can explain it is that if you're doing door knocking, if you're doing cold calling, that type of sales, that's like picking up girls. But if you want to get good at maintaining very healthy relationships, you're able to really get someone to really fuck with you. They're like, oh my God, like this is a different kind of person.
Trust you and trust thousands of dollars with you.
That's a different skill set.
Yeah.
Right. And so one is just volume. The other one is genuine value. And that gives you influence like nothing, like literally nothing comes close to it. I think it's single-handedly the best skill set that everyone should learn, especially in the beginning of their development. It's something that you're going to use forever. Bro, look,
especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to learn sales, okay? And you need to learn, high ticket sales. You're speaking to very, very successful people, and you're asking for lots and lots of money. We're not just selling, software sales. We're not just selling some low ticket thing. Like we're asking for a lot of money, and people, you can build trust, build rapport, we're doing all these things, and we're actually creating impact. So it's different than if you're just selling, a vacuum or something. Like we are actually changing people's lives. So for me, man, it's very fulfilling. It's very fulfilling, and I remember my first ever like, high ticket closer I spoke to changed my life, man, because he was the first person that really understood the things I was going through at a young age, trying to, break free of the system and do my own thing and make money online. And we talked about the couple of, agency courses we went through initially. But that was, I never seen or imagined that. And the program was great, whatever. I learned some stuff, but the thing I'll never forget is the way that guy made me feel on that call, and the way that he was able to, help me realize that these dreams I had was possible, right? He helped me overcome those fears of maybe taking a risk and investing in myself. And I didn't exactly know the situation, but I knew if I took action, that eventually something will come better, right? Like you were saying, you don't know the exact outcome, you don't know exactly, but you got to keep taking those efforts towards that end goal, and eventually it works itself out, man. And so that, I guess that metamorphosis, that mind shift, always enamored me. And I was like, how can I do that? How can I be able to like do that? How can I be able to like ask those questions to other people and get them to actually think and ask themselves those questions and be able to maybe overcome their own limiting beliefs and change the trajectory of the rest of their life potentially, right? And a lot of times if you don't do it, no one else will, right? If you're a bad closer, they might get off that call and they might never do anything that'll change their life. So you really, like, I'm very passionate about this stuff.
100%.
I know you've been doing it a while too, and it's like, it's very cool. It's very cool. Like this, it's a world we live in now where we have this opportunity to help people online, taking a couple calls through Zoom, and it's sick, man. It's sick.
It's very mutually beneficial, but not only that, dude, you hit something so important, because I think sales has a massive stigma around it, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. By the way, I fully fucking get it, because, personally, in between myself and my business partner, we spent over $250,000 in the last 2 years alone on self-development. courses, mentorships, masterminds, you name it, we've done it. Now, most of them were not worth the money at all. Like just at all. They were not worth the money. Some of them were straight scams. Others just promised the world and were able to deliver. But there were a few that really gave us so much value that it paid back everything else tenfold, right?
Incredible.
And really, what I take from that is, as a closer, as long as you have the right ethics, you have the right morals, you have an actual product that helps people, it really is your duty to sell that person. Because a lot of times, and I know what I'm talking about, a lot of times you get on a call with someone, they don't even know who they are, they don't know what they want, they have no direction. And then through asking them certain questions, you're able to have them live on the call, within an hour basis, work through all of that previous trauma, limited self-beliefs, actual aspirations that they put in the back burner that they haven't thought about since high school. Yep. And you can take all of that context and bring it up to the forefront. And through that conversation with you, they have this epiphany on like, holy shit, that's what I need.
That's what I need.
That's the transformation I need. And then I provide that transformation on a silver platter.
Cool.
So you're making a massive impact on that person's life. And so really getting someone to buy, if your product does help them, it's not just to get commission. It's your duty as a person that gives a shit about other people to get them to go through the program, as long as, again, that program has the ability
to help and change their lives.
Exactly.
You gotta believe in what you're selling. A lot of times, most salespeople don't.
Yeah.
So you find something you actually truly believe in. It's something that you vibe with, and you truly believe that this can help people. It's very easy. Closing it's very simple. These people are already warmed up through social media, through content. They already want to buy something. You just have to not say something to mess it up.
Yeah.
Right.
They can feel your energy.
They can feel your energy. They can feel your confidence. And yeah, bro, it's cool because this it's transformational. It's transformational. And I with all my students, the same situation. Like they've had to go through that same metamorphosis to come to me for me to coach them, so they understand now when they're speaking to prospects and how to go through that transition. And it's cool, man. You represent something that you believe in.
It's a big part on that as well.
What?
It's like you can't expect other people to commit to actions that you yourself wouldn't. And so all your students, the ones that are investing in themselves, investing into coaching, I mean, it's a lot easier for them to go and sell someone else on investing into a product or service because they went through that metamorphosis themselves.
Yes.
Right? But if you're just sitting there and you're in your own little shell and you're too scared to invest in yourself, you're too scared to like actually go out there and commit to your own growth and putting your own hard-earned money on the table for your own growth, how the fuck do you expect other people to do that? How are they going to trust you to be able to do so if you yourself wouldn't do it? And there's a lot of, it's not just what you say. I mean, what is it? 80 or 90% of communication is nonverbal, right?
Tonalities, brother.
Tonality,
Tonalities,
your body language, your energy, people can sense it, right? People can sense it. Obviously, what you say is incredibly important, but what's even just as, if not more important, is the way that you say it. And if you don't have that confidence in the product that you're selling, it's very hard to sell it, unless you just have no moral compass and you don't give a fuck, and there's people out there and they can lie through their teeth. But generally people can sense it and they can't put their finger on it. But I know you've had this, I've had this, where you just talk to someone and you're like, they're legit. I just like, I feel confident in them, or the opposite.
Yeah.
Even though what they're saying logically makes sense, I don't feel right about this person.
Yeah, bro. The feeling. If you have a bad feeling, don't do it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you gotta take that risk on yourself sometimes, right? And I think we push off the inevitable when you just got to take action. I think that the people like us, man, we just take action. We were speaking about this in the car. I thought it was very interesting because I asked him, I said, you take two people, the same people, like let's say us in a different dimension, will we still come to this point where we're successful as we are now, if not more, or will we still be in that, that 9 to 5 NPC kind of mindset? Like, what is that actually that X sauce that makes someone successful? Because I've had people also in coaching and in my mentorships where they have the exact same sauce that I've had, and they're not successful. But then they have people that are, right? That actually have the mentality, they actually take action, they're actually disciplined, they're consistent, and they're persistent. That's what makes it, right? And what is that sauce, do you think?
I'll tell you right now what it is. That in my head, at least. Let's define success.
What is success?
Let's define success as, usually success is based on the context of what we're referencing it to.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're making $100,000 a year in a environment where the average person makes $100 a year, you're pretty fucking successful, right? In that measure, at least, right? If you're in an environment where you're making $100,000 a year, but the people around you are making $1 million a year, you're not successful. So I think it's a base measure of what's happening around you, your environment.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, let's take it even a step forward from that. Being successful, if it's based on your placement within the hierarchy around you, that means that the people that are more successful tend to take very, very different actions than the people that are less successful, right? Because by measure, 99% of people, whatever it is, are going to be not successful, and then that 1% is going to be successful.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think doing hard work is what's going to get you there, but it's actually doing work that has a lot of resistance. I think there's a difference there. It's hard to go and work a construction job for 12 hours a day. That's not easy. That's hard.
Respect.
But there's low resistance. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
Anyone can do it. There's low resistance. It's very difficult to do it on your body, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Now, the opposite is true for people that work for leverage, right? That are not trading their time for money, that are, or even if they are, they're doing it at a higher leverage multiple, right? So like their hour of time is worth $500 versus most people, it's like $50, right? And so their mentality is shifted because now you have to do something that most people have an innate human nature of avoiding, which is doing things that include a lot of risk, right? Where you're doing something and you're not sure if you're going to get a return out of it. It's doing something that isn't as proven, right? So the people around you haven't done it. You don't know the longevity of it. Those are all things that are against human nature because we want to take the safer route. And so investing in yourself isn't actually hard. It's not hard to fucking click a button and send someone some money that you know you can replace. That's not difficult, but there is a lot of resistance, right? Doing something that no one in your family has ever done, that's not actually hard. Like the task itself is not difficult.
The task of doing is not hard.
It's not difficult.
Difficult to do that.
But psychologically, there's a lot of resistance.
You're right.
So that's why, in my head, whenever I feel that innate resistance, I know that is the door that's blocking me from getting to that next level. It's not that the work needs to be hard. It's that there has to be some sort of resistance. Like my body is like scared to do it or doesn't want to do it.
When you train yourself to go against the resistance, then you see improvements, progression.
Yes.
You see that.
That's it. That's literally why, like, why is it that 1% of people get certain results and 99% of people get similar results? It's because they're doing what human nature lets them do, which is avoid resistance. And so they'll take the known that makes them unhappy.
Which is a primal actual thing which is supposed to protect you.
But we don't live in, exactly, but we don't live in
a primal society anymore, right?
Exactly.
So that's supposed to protect you from getting killed by a bear, from getting eaten by a lion or something, right? Like, okay, don't go out there. But then if you think about it, the entrepreneurs of the we can call it the caveman days, those are the ones that were discovering new territories and hunting into, other lands, and they're the ones that were bringing back the kill for the tribe.
Yeah.
They're the ones that were leading the tribe.
Yeah.
Right. And it was the ones that were staying behind that were obviously helping the offsprings and helping everybody, build tools and maybe advance in whatever type of civilization they were in. But to actually expand, it was those guys that were sending. A lot of them got killed too. A lot of bears killed them.
Yeah.
It was risky, but humans wouldn't progress without some people leading.
Yeah.
All right. So
people that go forward, right? They really push the envelope of what's possible, and then the rest make it the norm. Right? So we go through these periods of evolution, and that usually comes from a specific group of people that really like push forward the envelope of what's possible.
Yeah.
And then everyone else, they're like, okay, well that is now infrastructure that is existing. Let's just double down on it and make it better. Right? So what's his face?
Bezos.
Sorry?
Bezos.
No. The guy that, Edison who made the light bulb, right? So there was a light bulb that was existing before Edison used gas. It was too bright and it was very dangerous to use, and gas prices were incredibly high. So it just wasn't mass market. And he was able to do something that everyone thought was fucking impossible. Because he came to the journal, and he was a relatively successful inventor at the time, but obviously nowhere near as when he actually ended up inventing the light bulb. And he said, in 5 years' time, I'm going to light up the entire city of New York with the light bulb. Everybody thought that was fucking insane.
Delusional, yeah.
But they were like, okay, he has a good track record, then we believe him. Right? And so he got a bunch of funding through that. But when he went back to his shop with his, the people that worked for him, and they heard what he said, they're like, are you insane? How, there's no way we can do this. And guess what? 5 years later, they did. He created this unnecessary pressure for himself that also brought in funding, right? But this caused him to do something that most people thought was completely impossible. Now that he achieved that, lights are everywhere. And people were able to expand on that and make better versions, right? And look at us, like, where do you go that doesn't have some kind of electricity and artificial light?
Change reality as we know it.
But someone had to push the envelope. Now, I'm going to take another stance on this. I don't actually want to be the person that pushes the envelope. I'll tell you why. I think there are crazy people out there like Elon Musk, and I love that they exist, and these inventors, and they can push the envelope. They can do something that no one else thought was possible. I want to be the second or third guy. I want to be the guy that's like, cool, this has already happened. This is not within like something I have to create on my own. It just like it's already happened.
Yeah.
I mean, someone else has gotten those results. All I need to do is find out the information they had, that context, and take similar action, at least within my environment.
Sure.
And so if I do that, then I have a way higher chance of getting those results.
Way higher chance of succeeding. Yeah. So we talked about this with Big too, where, you know, it's what we're talking about. I forgot. It's about entrepreneurship. Is about, you know, we're talking about other types of success. Like you have you know, athletes, you have celebrities, you have. Remember we used to have that conversation about, you know, different types of ways.
Brick and mortar like this,
brick and mortar businesses. At the end of the day, being an entrepreneur, you know, trying to be an actor, these kind of things, a lot of it is based on luck.
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur is actually probably the most safe route. If you look at it compared to the other, like, from successful ways, like becoming an athlete or all these kind of things where you're literally gambling.
Yeah.
You're trying to become really good at soccer or football, trying to get picked to be on a team. That's all out of your control. You can get injured, and just like that, boom, you're done. So you think you're going to be famous and making a ton of money, but you can't travel to wherever you want because you have to be there every single day for training. You have to be, you know, 2-3 games a week. That's not true freedom. Being an entrepreneur, it's actually truly all in our own hands, if you think about it.
Well, you saw both sides. Tell them about your soccer career, right? Like, because you saw both sides. You saw the soccer side of it, and then you saw, obviously, the entrepreneur side of it. And so talk a little bit more about that.
Well, yeah, no, playing soccer from a young age, I always wanted to like be a professional soccer player. But I said that's not a reality. Like, it's very, very tough.
Yeah.
It's very, very tough. Also got into you know, videography and photography at a very young age too, and you know, that's very tough. And I wanted to get into the whole, like, that whole scene of, like, you know, being a professional photographer. But it's very tough, man. It's like very luck based.
Yeah.
So we actually looking at like, if we're looking at, you know, making your own luck, bro, building a business, and an online business is the way. Because I built a ton of businesses since I was 13, as a lot of you guys probably know. And those businesses were great. They made me a lot of money. Great. I was able to have a little bit of freedom, travel here and there, but nothing international. And I couldn't just leave my business for extended periods of time because I had to be there. And if no one showed up, I had to actually go 7 days a week and make sure things were being done. So what I realized, you know, people, there's this false kind of like narrative you're telling young, like, entrepreneurs or business people maybe are free. But if you have a brick and mortar business, like a restaurant or some kind of brick and mortar business, in my opinion, you're not free.
Yeah.
You're not free unless you can automate it to a point where, you know, you have a team, then maybe. And at the end of the day, of course, nothing is truly passive. Even online businesses, you still have to put some input into it, right? But you have to make money online then. In my opinion, you have to make money online if you want to have true, proper freedom, financial, location, and time freedom. You want to just have financial freedom? Fine. Start a brick and mortar business.
Hey, bro, just to put in perspective, I by far had the most amount of fun when I was first getting into sales online, because I basically had, I was taking calls every day, but I can kind of set whatever schedule I wanted to, and I just set those hours, and I worked those hours, and I made sales. But then I could do whatever the fuck I wanted, whenever I wanted, wherever I wanted. And so I went to Switzerland, I went to Italy, I went to
Mexico.
I went to Mexico.
None of that crazy stuff.
Yeah, I like that. I had all of these insane experiences.
Which is where I started, you guys know.
In Tulum, same place.
Tulum.
And so I had all of these crazy experiences. I had full control over what I was doing. And I think one thing that I've noticed for myself, for actually students of ours that end up, making enough money where they can get out of their 9 to 5, which is most people's, like, the big thing. It's like, if I can replace my income, not have to work a 9 to 5, be able to work online, that's awesome. Because again, they buy those 3 types of freedom. Now, one thing I've noticed with all of them is that when they do buy back that time and that ability to have that freedom, it's not just that they get to enjoy themselves a little bit more, but they now have the mental bandwidth cleared up where they can figure out who they are more. And if you go out and you start to travel, you start to talk to other people that are not in the same sphere as everyone else, which is like, 9 to 5, I got my college degree, I'm going to save up for fucking 80 years, and then I can maybe retire, and, like, hopefully inflation doesn't kill my entire savings. If you get out of that bubble and you start talking to other people that, aren't light years ahead, they're just a couple steps ahead.
Years ahead.
Just a couple years ahead, just a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
They start to open up your mind. You start to realize things about yourself you didn't even realize, or these deep desires that you might have had as a kid. You almost forget about. Like, I have one person who, he talks about, he forgot that he used to love to play guitar, and he always wanted to have a band, right? And he's just like, he dropped it, right? Because it had to get real, right? Because the real world hit him, right? And so, that's no. Fuck
You
that.
can still follow your dreams. Yeah.
You can still follow your dreams. You can still do all that. It's just about finding some sort of work that enables you to live the lifestyle that you want. I genuinely think that there's nothing better than doing sales online. And really, it's because it gives you the amount of money that you need to basically do whatever you want. It allows you to travel to any country that you want to. You don't have to check in anywhere else. You can create your own time schedule. So that it means depends on how much money you want to make. You can decide how many hours you want to work. You want to work a couple hours a day? Great. You want to fill up your calendars for 12 hours a day? You want to fluctuate that? You're able to do so. So you find an offer that situates and obviously is okay with that. But once you're able to do so, you now see the world as a sandbox. And not only that, but you also navigate in a way easier way. Doors open up because you can communicate. You have influence.
It's not just about the money. Like the
Money is one small part.
honestly, what can people make from let's say high ticket closing realistically? Like honestly, realistically, like starting out.
Bro, you know, you can go anywhere from like at a very, very low end, and this is like if you're
What do you
just
think?
starting out,
Sure, yeah. What do you think's average?
you should have no issue doing $8,000 to $12,000 a month on a good offer.
8 to 12,000 on a good offer, solid, easily.
Like very easy for people that can make a lot more than that, right? But if you want a solid offer and you don't want to work 12 hours a day, you can make $8,000 to $12,000,
6 to 8 hours a day, probably.
6 to 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
6 to 8 hours a day. You take a couple calls. A third of those are not going to show up, you know, and so you can literally just section off those 6 to 8 hours a day where you're at your computer, you're at a coffee shop, you know, you're wherever you want. People go on the beach and they're taking the calls, right? And so you can literally be anywhere in the world, make that type of income.
I've taken
the
them
course of the airport.
from hotels, from lounges, from everywhere.
Yeah, I see.
Obviously, starting out, you need to get good, but then once you're good, villas, everything, long term.
Bro, I genuinely believe that with the right training and enough volume of calls, you can be, you know, top 60, like in top 40 or 30% of closers within like 2 to 3 months.
Oh, dude, yeah,
Like,
so easy
because
this space is so new. That's the thing. It's so new. It's just starting, and like, it's very good to become. There's so many people are bad.
Yeah, we just
How many coaches do we know that need good closers?
bro, everyone. Think about it. Like that's all they want.
Yeah.
If you can just get good, like
Good closers.
decently good, and the only way that you can do that is through again 2 things: enough volume of calls, so you need to be on an offer or like at least doing it consistently.
Gotta practice, yeah.
But more importantly, and are just as important, is to have some sort of support. And what I mean by that is the only way to get better is through volume plus reflection, right? You need to reflect about how effective the actions that you're taking are. And you can't reflect on that on your own because you don't know what you're doing. It's a brand new thing. You don't actually know what works and what doesn't because you're just starting it off.
Reiterate.
And so you need someone who's a couple steps ahead of you that you can trust, that you say, okay, like he's obviously much better at sales than I am, right? This goes for anything in life, not just sales, but we're obviously using this as the example, and learn through them and have them review your shit because that's going to allow you to get way better, way quicker than the average person.
Yeah.
And now you become relatively irreplaceable. If you have there's a coach with a sick closer, and this closer, they know that they can give them $5,000 worth of leads on a monthly basis, and that closer is going to give them back $110,000 worth of closed sales. They will do anything to keep that closer there.
That's another thing, guys. You're not replaceable. Okay. Once you're trained as a good closer, you can hop offers so fast. The offer owner wants you. They need you because you're making people who make money a lot more money.
Yeah.
So when you make people, even if you have no inherent value, you know, you're nobody from butt crack of wherever, okay, and you're making someone who makes a lot of money more money, they're gonna of course keep you around.
That's leverage.
So when you try to reach out to them, in my early days, I would try to reach out to these successful people, try to get in the door, try to meet people, try to network. They don't care about you. You're nobody. And when you come to them with a value proposition, I just want to work for you and make you money. You don't have to pay me. No salary. It's just commission based. Only have to pay me once I close deals for you. You eat what you kill. Like, bro, easy day.
Yeah.
That's what I started doing. That's when everything changed. Okay, now I get paid on how much money I make you.
Yeah.
And now you value it.
Yeah.
And your network is crazy. I mean, bro, I wish I'd found sales a lot earlier because I tried a bunch of other like make money online things. And it was tough, because I didn't have all the business background info. Now, of course, in hindsight, if I tried those things I started at first, now probably would have been more successful.
Right.
Right. Because I know all the other skills you have to have. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it is to be a successful, entrepreneur in the online space. It's a myriad of different skills. It's a skill set package you have to build. Right. You have to build you have to build a package of skills. And sales is probably one of the most important ones, right?
And then again, it's the prerequisite to everything else. So what you mentioned there is super important. Like, there's a million ways to make money. All right, it's like all of it does work. Yeah. Ecom works, Amazon FBA works, SMMA works, sales works, YouTube works. They all work. It's not about if one works or one doesn't, but which one makes the most amount of sense to where you're at right now, right? And so sales, I think, is one of the most essential skills that you can learn for obvious reasons, not just in business, but obviously just how you navigate in life, whether it's getting a partner, making friends, being able to get into a place like this where I'm sure they charge tens of thousands of land just to be able to shoot in here. We got in for free just because only here knows how to talk, knows how to communicate, knows how to pull strings.
Right, just to the owner. Just spoke to speak to the manager, and then I spoke to the owner straight up.
I made it happen, right? And so I think it's one of the best skills that you can do in the beginning, because it's only one skill that you need to learn. Versus everything else, it's a myriad of multiple skills. It requires upfront capital to invest in, and it usually has a longer time period before you start getting paid on it. So the feedback loop is so long that most people quit before they start getting paid on it.
And that's facts.
Like econ, for example, again, it works. I'm not shitting on econ, but you need to learn ads, you need to learn copy, you need to understand product, you need to understand logistics, you have to deal with payment processors, with returns, like customer service. Like there's so many things that go into it.
Yeah.
Does it work? It works.
It works, yeah.
But as a first business model, plus you're putting in money.
Ecom is not a beast.
It's not beginner.
I will always say, I've closed and I've worked with ecom. I had an agency where we worked with ecom, brands, and I used to work with one of the top ecom guys out of Canada and close deals for them. And yes, it's one of the hardest models probably to make money online to start out.
Yeah.
If you have other business savviness and if you don't have any capital to invest, you have to invest in ads. You have to invest into setting up your store, software. There's a lot of money that you need to have at the beginning just to test products that aren't even maybe potentially even be successful. So
First closing,
there's nothing. It's just you and your words and a laptop and maybe some headphones if you're going to be somewhere where there's other people, like at a coffee shop.
The wired headphones work. No Bluetooth radiation.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Man, it's sick. But dude, let's shift gears a little bit. I want to speak more about like maybe some mindset stuff. Like kind of talked about we've had some good conversations over the past couple of days, but kind of your metamorphosis. Just talk to us a bit about like the mindset getting into this space and maybe some key takeaways just for our younger selves, man. Like what were you told yourself that the Snapchat video you showed me of yourself? You're young. What were you told him?
I think single-handedly the highest ROI mentality and thing that you can focus on is being reflective, is being extremely reflective. What I mean by that is I used to be an extremely emotional, spastic person, right? Because I had no control over my emotions. I read this book by Robert Greene, and not 48 Laws of Power. It's a different book. In my opinion, it's better. It's called The Laws of Human Nature. And there was one key concept that stuck in my head. I read it when I was 17, and I couldn't get it out of my head, and it's completely shifted my entire life, which is you have the logical brain and you have the emotional brain. And that's why you hear this quote is that people buy with emotion and they justify with logic. Because most people allow the emotional brain to be the driver and then the logical brain to be the vehicle itself, right? So they say, oh, I'm going to eat this cake, which is an emotional decision. They want dopamine. They want that sugar.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat this cake right now because I've been good all week. So I deserve it, right? I deserve it because I've been good all week.
Facts.
Versus the person who flips that and they make the emotional brain be the vehicle because emotions are extremely strong, but they don't have any control.
Yeah.
Right? And the logical brain to be the driver, well, they'll look at that same piece of cake and think, okay, I would like to eat that, but I care more about being in better shape and having more control over my thoughts and actions, that this piece of cake, the dopamine I get from it, is not worth it. And they can put themselves into a future version of themselves where they're more proud that they never ate that piece of cake than a person who did. It's the same person. And that shift completely shifted everything that I do. And so I think reflecting and journaling is by far the most important thing that you can do. Because when you're continuously reflecting, you can tell yourself, okay, today I did X, Y, Z, and I felt these emotions. Why did I feel these emotions? Why did I commit to these actions? And you can catch yourself if you're making an emotional decision or a logical decision, because this is not an overnight thing. And the only way that you can have that muscle built is by doing it over and over and over again. It's the same way with cancer.
It's
like cancer. You have to catch the cancer early on, so you can take it out.
Yeah.
But if you don't and you let it grow and it becomes these habits that are detriment to your own self-growth, that's when it fucks.
The habit attacking is the big one I like to focus on. Because when I was starting out too, my mind was completely destroyed. I was skinny. I had no self-confidence. I had to rebuild my brain in a way where I got to a point where I had a delusional confidence in myself that I was going to be successful.
Yeah.
Like to a point where I was like, should I quit? Am I delusional? Like, why am I still so certain I'm going to be successful? Like it was absurd. But I remember I would attack each of my negative habits 1 month by 1 month. So I'd choose one habit that I wanted to eliminate or one habit I wanted to integrate into my life, and I would practice that for about 30 days. And I would see, is this something, that I would want to continue doing? Like, for example, taking cold showers, or maybe sleeping on the ground because I wanted to be uncomfortable, right? To push myself, like we were speaking about earlier. Or I cut out caffeine, right? For a period of time, 30 days and 60 days. And if I liked it, I would continue doing it. Okay. If I liked it, if it was improving my life, I would continue doing it. If I didn't like it, I'd get rid of it, right? Like cold showers, I don't personally don't see a needing to do that every single day. I mean, it's something that's good for your mind, overcome discomfort first thing in the morning, whatever. But in the long term, then I would take these things and I would say, okay, which one of these do I want to add to my life for the rest of my life? And I slowly began to make a mind shift, right? And I rewrote my narrative. I remember one time I woke up middle of the night and I couldn't sleep. And it was like one of those kind of like enlightenment moments where I was like, okay, something has to change. And I just wrote. I remember just writing in pages and pages and pages, and I just wrote in detail the exact lifestyle, the exact vision I wanted for my life. And I said, this is exactly what needs to happen. I wrote out an entire roadmap, and I set dates on when everything was going to happen. And I said, okay, how are we going to make this happen now? Here's the grand master plan. But now, most people, they can do that. Most people can have a vision or a dream, want to make $1 million, whatever the hell, but they don't actually know how to get there.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't know how to get there too, but I said, I need to make a plan. Okay, and this needs to happen exactly this way. So I had to rewire my brain. I had to change some habits. I started going to the gym. I didn't even know how to work out. I didn't know anything about the gym. I still feel like I don't know anything about the gym, but I was consistent. And where other people maybe, lack in knowledge or whatever, I was going to be overworking, and I was going to be consistent and persistent. I knew that if I could just do that over and over and over and build that habit, eventually the success would come. Eventually I'd learn if I could just become 1% better every single day.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was it. I would just go to the gym. Doesn't matter if I don't know how to do anything, I'm just going to go. Okay, doesn't matter if all my exercises are bad, as long as I can do one exercise a day right, then that's a win. And I get that winner effect. You got to build that in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And now it's been a couple of years, and now like I feel like a completely different person. And like you were saying, bro, you have to you can't try to do it all at once. It's not going to be all at once, but it's over a long period of time. And it's that delayed gratification, man. And especially being in our 20s now, this is the most important time where everybody else is partying, traveling, enjoying their lives, maybe doing drugs, drinking, where this is the point where you can really accelerate past a lot of other people and get that head effect. So if you sacrifice a couple years now, bro, I mean, we're already doing it, but if you can really, really get ahead a lot, 100%, right?
It's like compounding effect too, bro. Dude, you know what's funny? Something you touched upon is that, there's the saying that the formula for success is preparation plus luck equals success. Now, preparation is doing what you're doing, right? Which is, okay, I'm not good at this thing right now, but I'm going to continuously try to get better, right? And so there's that preparation of developing your skill sets, developing yourself as a human being. Cool. Then there's the luck aspect. And I think a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on luck. But guess what? Volume negates luck. So if you do something one time and it has a 1% chance of happening, well, yeah, you got pretty fucking lucky because, that 100th on the time that someone does this thing, they get this result. Yeah. But if you do it 100 times, you didn't get lucky. You did the required volume for you to get the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if you just continuously grow yourself, you're continuously reading, you're continuously developing your skill sets, you're growing your network, you're becoming a better and better version of yourself. And you do that for a long enough time horizon, guess what? You get your big break and something clicks.
And bro, that's how, when I look back at my life, that's where I you can't connect the dots going forward, only looking back, right? Yeah. Steve Jobs always talks about that. And I look back and I never at one point did I ever think that I was failing. But when I look back at certain points where like businesses didn't work out or I had to change my offers or stuff, there were a lot of times where I was actually kind of at rock bottom. But I kept having that confidence and I knew I was going to make it out. And you were saying earlier, what were you saying earlier about I just forgot my train of thought. What were you saying? Yeah, I always knew I was going to make it out.
Yep.
I always knew I was going to make it out.
Like the delusion to believe that you can do it until the dopamine loop of actually getting results starts to kick in.
The dopamine comes and it kicks in, and then eventually you get there. But there, all those moments in my past, when in my career, where I've had some success, we can call it. None of it was luck. Okay, maybe in the few moments where there was luck, it was only because I was prepared at those moments, and then it came quick, and so then it looks like it's an overnight success, but it's because I was ready.
Yeah.
And I see that, it's weird because I see this in myself, in my students currently now, because I know I can see, even they can't even see it. I can see the ones that I know are even successful and the ones that maybe it's going to take a little bit more time because they haven't done that inner work. They haven't done that mindset. right? So like it really is 80-90% mindset, right? Learning all those skills, running those failed agencies, because then now when you get presented with a good opportunity, right? Like when you met Vic and then all that stuff, it came super easy because you were putting in the efforts where nobody else was.
And you build up the filtration to be able to spot a good opportunity and a bad opportunity. Because in the beginning, you can't really tell. You haven't gone through enough. You don't know what's actually bullshit, what's real. You don't know because you haven't done enough. Yeah. So you go through, and this is actually a quote by Ray Dalio, right, which is an incredible investor, but he talks about
billionaire. Steve Jobs of investing.
Exactly.
New York, New York,
insane.
Wall Street, everything.
Insane. Like one of the top.
What's his book?
Principles. I highly recommend everyone read that book. Principles is incredible. But he talks about this in Principles, which is that growth happens through pain plus reflection. Pain plus reflection. Not action and reflection, pain. You have to go through something physically that hurts you. Like it really does hurt you because that's such an emotion. We only learn through emotion. We don't learn through just things happen. You only learn when there's an emotion that's associated with a certain event or a certain action. And plus the reflection. Because if you have pain, you're not reflecting upon why you're having that pain, or you're going to continue having that pain. You have no input to stopping that pain. But if you're able to reflect upon why you had that pain to begin with, right? Why that business didn't work out, why that girl left you, why you had this shitty relationship with your family, why that. If you start connecting that and understanding and reflecting upon it, then you're less likely to run into those situations in the future. And this is how you start to grow into a person that becomes unrecognizable to the people you grew up with.
You know what it is, bro? I'm a badass.
Right? You become a fucking badass, and the same people,
nobody can mess with you.
No one, bro.
Nobody.
You become your own fucking superhero.
Bro, I've had a lot of pain. I think you've had a lot of pain too in the past couple of days we spoke. A lot of pain, right? Like, but bro, I think what's crazy, I've had a lot of pain, but I don't really think that I've had a lot of pain.
100%.
You feel like you've had a lot of pain?
I see it as a blessing.
I see it as a blessing, but like even speaking about, like you spoke about your sister and like, you know, other people, like I think a lot of people, they see pain and they have that victim mentality.
Yes.
And they, oh man, life sucks. For me, that's a motivator.
100%.
That's like, okay, cool. I don't care that I'm not as rich as some other people that I started out with worse cars, whatever the case. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get to that front of stuff. And that, bro, that's the X sauce that I don't understand. Some people just don't have it.
Think about what you just said. The pain that most people fucking hate. No one, like most people don't want to go through pain. Well, why? Because they're missing the reflection thing. Because if you have the reflection plus the pain, well, it's literally required for you to grow. And so you start to look at pain in a completely different perspective. From like, oh, I can't believe this is happening to me. Oh, this is happening for me, right? This is the shit that I have to go through to grow into the type of person that can have the lifestyle and become the person that I want to be, right? So that pain is a prerequisite. And so you change your relationship with pain. You change your relationship with failure. Versus a lot of people, when they see that pain, they see it as something, as an indicator that life is going to keep going down. Which means what? They lack reflection. Like why I started all of this was saying the most important part is the ability to reflect.
So reflection.
Because you're going to go through pain regardless. You're going through everyone. It's an inevitable life. It's part of life. But if you have the ability to reflect, that's what's going to set you apart. That's how you grow. That's how you become prepared. So when luck hits, you actually succeed.
That's good. That's a fire point. Bro, tell me about, I mean, you've been living out here in Cape Town, South Africa, okay? I came out here first time in January, okay? I love it. It's a great city. I grew up in Western Africa, so on the continent. Amazing place. Living overseas, living remotely, okay, making money online. This gives you the opportunity to do stuff like this. You've been here, what, 8 months now?
Yeah.
You've been living here in South Africa. Originally from Canada, and originally before that, you're from where?
Egypt.
You're from Egypt.
Yeah.
Okay, so his family's from Egypt. So what are some of the benefits? Why would somebody want to make money online and have the potential opportunity to maybe live in somewhere else? Like what value does that bring to your life? You've been here 8 months. Clearly, there's some values and there's some things that you've enjoyed about that.
100%. So, look, we can go on a whole thing about the West and West is falling, whatever it is, but I'm going to put it in a different perspective. It doesn't matter where you grew up. You need to get the fuck out of there. And the reason being is that wherever you grew up has certain ideologies, certain people, certain mentalities. And that is...
Just stop me for a second. You think, is that what you think? Like, it doesn't matter. What if you've grown up here in Cape Town?
Here, I'm going to tell you 100%. I'll tell you why. Because wherever you grew up, that becomes your norm. Those mentality, that mental mind map of how you commit to certain actions and what you think is cool and what's not is based on your environment. And so you have this much context that you start off with wherever you grew up. That's all you know. That's the only culture you know. That's the only reference points that you have. But once you start to travel, once you start to experience new cultures, new people, new languages, new foods, new religions, once you start to experience these things, you're taking your context from here, you're expanding things.
Perception of the reality.
When you expand the context, you can make points connect that you could never make before. And really, it's the same thing as developing your skill sets. It's the same thing as learning, like meeting a lot of people. It's you're just developing all of these different anchor points that can connect to each other. And there's an exponential amount of anchor point or exponential amount of connections that you can make per anchor point. And so when you start to travel, when you start to experience different things, you might go to a place and not like it. You know, you might not like that specific culture or their specific food or the way that they treat their women or the way that they treat servers or whatever. Like, you can go somewhere and say, oh, I don't actually like that. But guess what? It makes you understand yourself more because you are now actually seeing it happen in person. You can't come to your conclusion on a topic or an idea without seeing it yourself. And so when you end up traveling, you get to really see the world for what it is. And you become a more, not only interesting person, but you obviously become more interested because you're seeing all of these new things happening yourself. And so I think that's super, super important to get out of wherever city you grew up in, whatever country you grew up in. I'm not saying move, I'm not saying do what I did and leave the country completely, but I think it's very, very important that you get out there and you really experience what the world has to offer.
And you can't do that. You can't do that if you're stuck at a job in that city.
Yeah.
Right. It's imperative. It's imperative. We don't need to, maybe you don't need to move, but I highly recommend that you take some trips and you frequent different places. You need to. Now, obviously, we can talk about the benefits too. You know, cost of living is less in out of the West, outside of the States. For me, being from America, you being from Canada, in my opinion, if you're making money online, there's no real reason for you to live in the West, right? There's no real reason. You can have a much better quality of life outside the U.S., even if you are making a ton of money and you can afford living in the U.S., which I can. I still would prefer living outside the U.S. Yes, I grew up most of my life outside the U.S. and I really enjoy it. And I think people are happier. There's a lot of things. I mean, life is simpler, and it's best. It's better, right?
Fully agree.
But yeah, bro. So, let's. Do you want to go into the topic about God a little bit, or should we leave that for another day? Because we had a deep conversation about that, and want to speak about that a little bit.
Yeah, we can get into God later on, but and this is for everyone. I think it's so important for people to realize this, is that I really do believe that there's only two things that dictate your actions, right? Listen, for whether God exists or not, different conversation, but there's only two things that really dictate your actions, which I believe is a level of genetics, right? We have certain nature that we're predisposed to, but then it's also our environment, right? And growing up, you don't really have any control of the environment. I mean, you don't choose your parents, you don't choose the country you're born in, you don't choose a religion that's bestowed upon you. Like, you don't choose any of that.
And don't choose any of that.
But as you grow up, you can make the mental commitment to changing your environment. I'll say this in a simple term, and I can say it in a more complex term. In a simple term, I grew up hating to drink water. It sounds weird. I hated water. Like, I didn't like the taste.
Hated water.
I hated water. I hated the taste of it. Yeah. I thought it smelled weird for most of the time. Like, I could not drink water unless it was put through a Brita filter and then into a fridge, and I had to freeze it. I was just psychotic about water. So I just stopped drinking water, and I would just drink milk. I was drinking a gallon of milk every 2 days. Sounds super fucking weird now. Interesting. And so how did I train myself to drink a lot of water? Because now I drink about 4 liters a day of water on top of that with electrolytes. And I do that, and it's just part of my natural process every single day. If I don't, I feel weird. Yeah. How did I do that? Well, I changed my environment. At first, I was trying to get myself to drink water, and I had one little water bottle that was on my desk, and I would drink water whenever, right? I realized I was still not getting through more than a liter a day. And so what did I do? I made it easy. I made it easy in the sense that I started placing water bottles every single part of my house.
In your house?
Bro, I had 20 bottles of water. Dude, I had 3 in my bedroom, 1 in my washroom, multiple in my kitchen, multiple in my living room, in every washroom, by the way. So, like, I literally had water bottles everywhere. Why? Because I knew that if I had to get up to go drink water, that was too much resistance for me to do it.
Wow. So you stop buying milk?
I don't drink milk anymore. Like, unless it's like in coffee or whatever it is. Mine, right? And so this was years ago, by the way. This is not any time recent. This is probably like 5-6 years ago.
Sure.
But then I trained myself to drink enough water. Once I did, I slowly was able to remove those bottles, and I just had my 1 bottle. And up until 2 weeks ago, where I accidentally broke it, but I had the same exact 2.5 liter bottle
for 5 years.
For 5 years.
No,
I traveled 13 countries with it. Victor knows it because he gave it to me. 5 years, I had the exact same water bottle. I kept it, and just every single day, I'll drink 1.5 of those.
Insane.
And so,
wow.
the whole point of the story is what? You can change your environment to change your actions and your habits. And so if you're having a difficult time changing yourself, well, you need to look at your environment. If you're having a hard time not wasting your time, right, and smoking weed and doing things that, let's say, are not congruent with you growing, well, check your environment. Do you have an environment that pushes you to do better, pushes you to do worse? Do you have people around you that are enforcing and enabling that behavior that's positive, or is it negative? And so once you realize that, you start to change your environment, and your actions are the downstream effects of changing your environment.
Your habits.
Your habits.
Your micro habits.
Exactly.
Before. Big believer in micro habits.
Exactly.
You're going to fail, you human. I think a routine and a good habits really, and a good mindset, man, was set.
Sets you apart.
It's really not that hard.
And that's why I mean, it's not hard. It just requires resistance. There's resistance in dropping your friend group. You know, there's resistance, and you don't need to. I'm saying if they're obviously not congruent with being able to allow you to reach your goals.
But if you can't drop your friend group, then move. Get out of your town. I think that has actually probably the biggest thing, man. Get out of your town. I got out.
Yep.
I got out, and yeah, naturally, then you have to make new friends. Actually, I moved to a new place, and it was right when I was going through my metamorphosis, and I didn't actually make a lot of new friends because I was so ingrained in that period of time where I was reading books, multiple books every single month, and I was learning from different coaches, and I was trying different things, and I needed that. I almost needed that period alone to really go through that dark period where I was able to just come out the other side as a phoenix rising from the ashes.
You know, that's such an incredible analogy, right? Think of a caterpillar, right? Metamorphosis. But during that period where it's in its cocoon, it's in its shell, there's nothing else that's coming in. It's a controlled environment. And so the same thing happens when you're trying to shift. A lot of people are trying to get into these groups of people where it's like, how do I get into a room with all these big entrepreneurs, It's like, they don't want you. Not yet. Because you have no value.
Go away and build yourself.
You have to build yourself. And at the same time, you can't spend time with the people that are still caterpillars when you're trying to become a butterfly.
You cannot.
And so you need to isolate yourself
like a cocoon,
while knowing that you can't chill with the butterflies just yet. You can't chill with them yet because you're not at that level. And so you're in this middle ground where you're above the old circle, but you're below the circle that you want to get into. And so you need to develop yourself. You need to go through your Rocky montage. The Rocky montage, I know in the movie is a couple minutes. This can be months, if not years.
But it's about 2 years.
2 years.
And that's why I got the butterfly tattoo recently.
Awesome, bro. That's a symbol.
Yeah,
I love that. It's a symbol. I love that. It's true, bro.
Got to.
So make the decision, because a lot of people think that there's a lot of risk involved with going down the unbeaten path, even though at this point in time, you guys should have seen enough people online that are making crazy money. But let's call it the unbeaten path, the riskier path. Well, let's look at it this way. Expand the timeline, right? If you go into a specific field, let's say you get into engineering, right? And you look at the people that are 30 years ahead of you, and you're 20 and they're in their 50s, and you see their life and you don't like their life, if you expand the timeline,
very good piece of advice.
Expand the timeline, you are guaranteed to live a life that you don't like. You're actually guaranteed. It's not even like that's not, you're guaranteed to live a life of regret. But if you look at the other types of people who are living the lifestyle that you want, well, let's just say you're not guaranteed to have that lifestyle, even though you have a very big chance if you do everything that we talked about today. Let's say you're not guaranteed. You still have some sort of chance of living the lifestyle that you want. So on one hand, it's guaranteed sadness and regret. The other hand is a chance for you to live the lifestyle that you want. Which one makes the most amount of sense?
Makes the most amount of sense?
I can't tell you to do anything about it, but like that's really what it is. Expand the timeline and realize those are your only two options, and make a decision based on that. Because at some point you're going to look back on it, and you're either going to look back on the actions you committed to with a bunch of regret or with a lot of fondness. So decide.
You have one life. Okay, I almost died a week and a half ago in a car accident. Ahmed knows this. There's been a lot of situations in my life where it's really jumped me back to reality. But you only have one life, guys. And I'm saying that, obviously that's very cliche, but I'm saying that now with the most, trueness I ever can, because, recently had this situation. But yeah, what's the other option? What is the other option? What is the other option for you guys? That's it. Like send it till you end it. Risk takers are history makers. Go do the thing that you should be doing. And why would you not want to learn from someone who's doing what you want to do? Why would you want to learn from someone that's doing something you don't want to do? For me, it makes complete sense, man. Even since I was a young kid, I always knew I'd be a leader. Always knew I'd have success. Always knew I was going to do something different. But some people, they just don't. I don't know. I can't help those that don't need help. hopefully this podcast can inspire some of you guys, motivate some of you guys, give you guys a little bit of sauce on the inside minds of two lads going against the grain. And hopefully it motivates you guys to do something different. Maybe, and get you a little pain, or maybe makes you guys take action. I mean, that would be my hope, I guess. What would you say? What would be your hope for impacting people?
Like, same exact thing, right? Some people are going to listen to this and they're going to take this information. And if you stay to the end of this podcast, you obviously have something that you feel like you're getting out of it. Some people are going to listen to it and be like, cool, that sounds awesome. They're going to do nothing about it. And there's going to be people who are going to listen to it and be like, holy shit, that's what I need to hear. And they're going to commit to the actions that are required for them to win. And guess what? You don't need to have it all figured out. As long as you're continuously taking action, going through pain, and reflecting upon it, you eventually will grow and eventually find success. So
pursue the pain. Pursue the pain. Push the pain.
Pursue it. Want it. When you see it, get excited.
Yeah.
And you'll eventually succeed. So
you guys will do it. You guys will make it. Yeah. Cool. Ahmed, I think that's good. We can kind of wrap it up. I'll put your Instagram in the description if you guys want to hit him up, speak to him, DM him, give him. How can people find Instagram? Best way?
Instagram is the best way, at Ahmed with an extra D, so AHMEDD.
We'll throw him in there. He's got a channel too, so you guys can go check out his videos. My Instagram I'll put down there too, so if you guys want to hit me up. And any last words for the peeps?
Make your family proud, make yourself proud, because you know at one time you're gonna die, and you're gonna look back in your life, and you're either gonna regret what you did, or you're gonna look at it very fondly. So do the things that deathbed version of yourself would be proud of your current self doing.
Amen, bro. Mic drop. Cool. Well, awesome, brother. Thank you for coming on the pond here real quick. For us here in Cape Town, we're chilling. And I will see you guys on the next one in a couple weeks. Yeah. Peace out.
Easy.